Hello and welcome to our second PEM-In-Ten podcast. What's PEM-In-Ten, you say? It's the Psychic Eye Mysteries podcast in 10 minutes or a little bit
or more.
Yeah, maybe 11.
Usually or less.
We're going to aim
Today
for
it's or
10.
more.
Well,
Yeah.
bouncy ball it. So these are short podcasts to just kind of touch on current mysteries kind of hitting the headlines that Sandy finds interesting. She asks me, can you pick up anything on them? And when I'm like, yeah, I can, then we will now present them to you. So it'll be interesting to see as some of these unfold, whether or not I'm right or not. I can't wait for those haters.
Okay, well,
Bring
today's
it.
today's case is the Down the Hill murders, which was recommended to us by Mia Weeks. She had noted on your Facebook fan page if we would look at this case. So thank you very much, Mia, for making the suggestion. And frame of reference, this is about the tragic deaths of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty Germain. So at 1:35 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, Abby Williams and her close friend Libby German were dropped off by Abby's sister Kelsey at County Road 300 North so that the 8th graders could hike along the rail bed trail to the Monon High Bridge, which is part of the Delphi Historic Trails in Delphi, Indiana. As the girls hiked in the remote woodland area, Libby used her cell phone at 2:07 p.m. to capture a photo of Abby walking along the Monon High Bridge, which extended some 60 feet above Deer Creek. Oddly, the girls failed to meet Libby's father at 3:15 p.m., which was their prearranged time to be picked up from their hike. Alarmed, Libby's father alerted loved ones about the fact that he could not find the girls and was quickly joined by members of both families to search for their daughters. With the sun setting and still no sign of Libby and Abby, the girls were reported missing to the local police at 5:30 p.m. Responding officers conducted a quick search of the area, and while they had no luck locating the young teens, they ruled out foul play as they did not discover any evidence pointing to that fact. Obviously, their theory changed when the bloodied bodies of the girls were discovered around noon the next day, about half a mile east of the abandoned Monon High Bridge on the north bank of Deer Creek. Since their discovery, police have not released any information about how the girls were murdered. Authorities did, however, immediately circulate a still image of a Caucasian male they considered as their prime suspect in the double homicide. The grainy photograph was captured on Libby's cell phone of a man weighing about 180 to 200 pounds and was 5'6" to 5'8" feet tall, wearing blue jeans, a blue jacket or coat, and a hoodie with his hands in his pockets, head down, walking on the rail bridge toward the girls on the Monon High Bridge Trail. 1 week later, law enforcement released an audio recording also captured on Libby's cell phone of the voice of the suspect. Although muffled, the suspect was recorded saying, quote, "down the hill." At their news conference, officials credited Libby with having had the presence of mind and fortitude to secretly record the exchange with the suspect. Police also indicated that additional evidence from Libby's phone had been secured. The full recording is 43 seconds long, but would not release further details so as not to compromise their case. On April 22nd, 2019, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter released additional evidence to the public, including a short video recording of the suspect walking along the rail bridge, an extended audio recording of the suspect uttering "guys" down the hill, and an updated sketch of the suspect, a clean-shaven, youthful-looking male aged 18 to 40 years of age. The previously released sketch of an older man with a goatee and a cap was now considered secondary to the newly released composite sketch. Police also stated that the suspect might well be hiding in plain sight and that the person was almost certainly familiar with the area of Delphi. Police also asked for help in identifying the driver of a vehicle left abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphi at the former Child Services office between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. Authorities have investigated several persons of interest in connection to the murders of Libby and Abby, including Ron Logan, a parolee for serial traffic violations and owner of the land where the girls' bloody bodies were discovered about 1,400 feet from his home. After lying to police about his whereabouts at the approximate time of the murders, Logan was arrested, but he was never formally charged and he is not considered a suspect, although he could not be ruled out as the voice recorded on Libby's phone. Logan died in January of 2020. Keegan Klein corresponded with Libby using a catfish Instagram account. To conceal his identity, Klein used the profile name Anthony_Shots and hid his heavyset, pasty-faced true image behind a profile of a photo of a male model. Using the fake account, Klein had planned to meet with Libby the day before she was murdered on the Delphi High Bridge. Klein denies having had any involvement in Libby and Abby's murders, but has implicated his father, as his father also had access to Klein's fake Instagram account. Neither he nor his father have been arrested over the Down the Hill murders, but Klein is behind bars on separate child porn charges, which were brought forth in 2020. Paul Etter was wanted for the June 22nd, 2019 kidnapping and rape of a 26-year-old woman in Tippecanoe County. A month later, intent on making an arrest, Etter was surrounded by police, but after a 5-hour standoff, Etter died by suicide. James Caldwell II was added to the suspect pool in 2021 after he was arrested and convicted for luring and assaulting a 9-year-old girl in his home 20 miles from where Abby and Libby were murdered. The girl survived, and Caldwell is currently serving a 90-year sentence for the crime. Thomas Bruce, a former pastor and convicted killer, caught the attention of authorities because of his physical resemblance to the man recorded on Libby's cell phone. While no charges have been made against Bruce for Abby and Libby's murders, Bruce is currently serving a life sentence for his past crimes. John Miller was arrested in 2018 for the 1988 murder of an 8-year-old girl. At the time of his arrest, Miller lived 2 hours from Delphi. No charges have been filed against Miller for Libby and Abby's murder. Daniel Nations was arrested in Colorado in September of 2017 for threatening hikers with a hatchet. Authorities considered Nations due to his strong resemblance to the police sketch of the Down the Hill murder suspect, but ultimately cleared him as a person of interest. 5.5 years after the slayings of Abby Williams and Libby German on October 26, 2022, 50-year-old Richard M. Allen of Delphi was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. Allen pleaded not guilty at the initial hearing. He will return to court for a pretrial hearing on January 13, 2023, and his trial is scheduled to begin on March 20, 2023. As authorities had suspected, Allen had been hiding in plain sight. Allen, who was married, never stood out among his neighbors or co-workers at the Delphi CVS. Libby's aunt, Tara Germain, shared with reporters about a specific encounter she had with Allen following Libby's death. Quote, I went to the CVS to print photos of Libby for the funeral, and Allen was the one who helped me. I was a mess trying to get the images off my phone. Once they were printed, he looked at me and said, I'm not going to charge you for this, end quote. While the charging documents and probable cause affidavit against Allen have been sealed, Murder Sheet Podcast was able to obtain a copy of the FBI search warrant that revealed details about the chilling murders. According to the source, a large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene, but there were no signs of a struggle or fight. Following their deaths, the girls' bodies were staged by the killer, and the perpetrator kept souvenirs of the victims, possibly some clothing, to memorialize the crime. According to authorities, the investigation is not complete, and minimal information is being released to the public to maintain the integrity of the case. As such, we likely won't hear any further details about the crime until the new year when Allen stands trial. My sources for this article include Wikipedia, Murders of Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty Germain, CNN.com. A man has been arrested and charged with the murders of the 2017 killing of 2 teen girls in Indiana, authorities say, by Emma Tucker, 10/31/22. TheDailyMail.com. Man who owned property where Delphi Bridge murder victims were found may have been killer. Heard in chilling audio saying down the hill. Newly unearthed search warrant says, as it discloses girls died in a bloodbath. By Alex Oliveira, 5/18/22. And ProfilingEvil.com, The Delphi Murders, What Happened to Abigail Williams and Liberty German, 10/30/2022. So, V, what do you think happened?
It's such a disturbing case. Like,
I agree.
I mean, these girls were 8th grade. It guts you. It's really terrible. So, when I first started to, again, I don't watch television. I don't look at this stuff. I don't see it come up on the news. So I had no visual reference. I'd heard of the Down the Hill murders, but I hadn't seen anything. So when I was first kind of tuning in, I had a very clear vision of what the perpetrator looked like. And what was interesting was that the composite sketch that they wanted to go with was a youthful looking man. And I'm like, no, he was like in his 50s. And then I wrote down beard, heavy set, 50-year-old kind of guy. And I went online to go backward through the suspects and through the person that they arrested. So I started with Alan, and I was like, oh, don't need to even look up anybody else. That's him. Like he totally matched my vision of who did it. I think it was a crime of opportunity. I think he's a sick motherfucker. And I don't know how he murdered them, but I think that he slashed their throats. I think he raped one of the girls. I don't think he raped the other one. I think he murdered Libby and then raped her best friend.
Abby.
Yeah, Abby. I hope he gets the chair. I really do. There's no doubt in my mind that he did it. I just like, and the thing that I was telling you, Sam, before we even started recording this was, I thought that the police had captured him on film walking at the same angle that Libby's phone captured him walking, because he has a very distinct step. There's a slight limp, which also gave away his age to me, because he walks like an older guy, right? Someone with a bad hip or a bad knee. And he takes like 3 steps, and it's a very decisive pattern. And I have a feeling that they've videotaped him. They thought it was him. They videotaped him, and side by side, it's going to be like a total match. It's like a thumbprint. So that's how I think they're going to tie him to the scene, along with, I believe, I think they'll find at least one thing that came from the girls on his property. So for me, he's convicted and sent away. I don't think he'll get the chair, but I wish he would. So that's who I think. I think they've got him. I do think they've got him. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that they have the wrong person. It just really feels like they have him.
And this was just a pure crime of opportunity.
Yep. Walking along, 2 girls, completely in the middle of the wilderness, out of nowhere. He's the kind of guy that would walk around with a knife, because a lot of these dudes do. And thought, here's a freebie. This is why when you see surveys of women, what would you do if men had a curfew of 8 o'clock? If no man could be out past 8 o'clock, what would you do? And we rejoice at that idea. We think, oh my God, I could go for a run at night. I could get an apartment on the first floor. I wouldn't be afraid to go to the grocery store. This is why. Because there are a lot of motherfuckers like that out there. So it's really unfortunate, because these girls didn't stand a chance. Yeah, I guess we have to teach our daughters better. I think we really need to teach them when they're around this age and when they first start capturing notice, because I was 13 when I started capturing notice. And it's just so creepy. It's so unnerving. It's so unsettling. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I was almost taken by a serial killer, actually, here in Michigan, when I was 11. So the Oakland County serial killer had nabbed, I think, three other kids who fit my description to a T. And he'd murdered them. And he came up our street and almost nabbed me. And if I hadn't been on my 10 speed, I wouldn't be here right now. So I think we need to kind of just teach our daughters to trust that initial and run, and fucking run. Don't wait around. This guy never would have been able to have catch them, because he had that bum knee, that bum hip, whatever it was.
Yeah. I was curious as to why they were so compliant with him ordering them.
It's a figure of authority.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying that it's because you're right. If they had run, but
and that's why he said down the hill, so he's behind them.
Yes,
right. And then he can just slash one throat and do whatever he wants with the other girl.
Okay.
Well,
Well, we'll see what happens in 2023 at his trial, and hopefully, hopefully he will
mhm,
be convicted for life. So,
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I hope the evidence is overwhelming. I hope they've like got him. I do think there's some DNA. I really do. I think
I'm
there's some
sure there
DNA.
is.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. Sure of it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's terrible. Anyway, on that happy note. Yeah, some of these are really hard because they're so fresh, right? Because
That's why
they're
they're
just,
10 minutes.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So Sandy's like telling me, like, yes, Victoria, we're at 12 minutes. We gotta go. We gotta cut it off. Let's go. Let's go. All right. If you want to know more about the podcast, me, the books, visit victorialawyer.com. You will not find anything there about Sandy, but that's okay. You can just come back and visit with us next PEM, the next PEM podcast. So anyway, Sans, thank you again. I love you, love you, love you.
Love you
And
too.
I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.